Well, it's that time again. Time for part 7 of The Land of Raw. Yesterday when I was reading to you, Arthur had finally made it into Raw and he'd met up with his best pal. Well, his best non-human friend, should I say, Wyn, who is a Wyn ninja because he's half wizard, half ninja. But unfortunately, he got caught up in Wyn's net and obviously Wyn decided the best thing to do was just to chop him down. So the last thing we remember is Arthur saying that he went very, very dark. So let's see what's happened to Arthur. Chapter 15. I came round in a shadowy place that smells of bonfires and popcorn. I slumped on a beanbag and Wyn is sitting next to me playing a one-man game of Hungry Hippos. For a moment I just stare as Wyn's hands fly around the hippos and the hippos gobble up little white balls. I squeeze my eyes shut, then open them again. Wyn's hands are still flying around and the hippos are still gobbling. If crawling through the camp bed and into Raw was a dream, then I should have woken up back in the attic. But I'm not in the attic. I'm in a cave that's messy with dropped clothes and abandoned toys and comics. Ninja robes hang from adjusting rock and a strange collection of weapons are stashed in a leather trunk. Wyn sees that my eyes are open and immediately leans over and starts thumping my chest. Breathe, Arthur, breathe. I can't, you're punching me. Oh, sorry, I thought you might be dead. I'm too dazed to ask why he was playing Hungry Hippos if he thought I was dead. Instead, I let my eyes wander around the cave, taking in Wyn's hammock, his shoebox of apples and the glow of a fire burning just outside. I vaguely remember that Wyn always kept a fire going there, ready for toasting marshmallows or making toast. My memories of Wyn's cave become more solid until I'm sure that if I turn my head I will see a stash of firewood and a cauldron sitting high on a shelf. I look to the left and there they are. A pyramid of logs and a rusty cauldron, just where I knew they would be. One thing I know for certain, I've been here before. Wyn gives me a shake. Hey Arthur, you've only been back an hour and look how much fun we're having. First you got trapped in that net, by you. Right, then you fell in that pool and nearly drowned, because of you. Oh, you're welcome. And now I've saved your life. He throws his arms around me and gives me a big hug. It's so good to have you back, Arthur. He squeezes me tight. Raw needs its masters, and seeing as Rose isn't here, we'll have to make do with you. I open my mouth to complain about this, but already Wyn's dropped me back on the beanbag and jumped to his feet. He darts around the cave, practicing ninja moves. Leaping tiger kick, he shouts, knocking over a pile of comics. Iron fist punch. He spins round and delivers a deadly blow to a pillow. Then he whips out his wand and moves on to spells. Belly wham, he cries, and the pillow bursts open in an explosion of feathers and blue smoke. Cheese storm! Green stars shoot from Wyn's hand and the comics flutter up into the air, then scatter across the floor. Oh, Wyn takes in his trash cave. I was trying to tidy up. Still working on the magic, I say. He frowns at his wand. Yep. Just then, I spot Grandad's asthma inhaler poking out of his pocket. And my head clears enough to remember why I'm here. I stagger to my feet, reach out and grab the inhaler from Wyn. I've got to get to Grandad, I say. But before I've taken a step, my legs buckle under me and I crash back down. Wyn throws me an apple. Eat this, it'll build up your energy. Obediently, I bite into the apple. It's sweet and tastes of butterscotch jelly beans, nothing like normal apples, and after a few bites I'm able to stand up. Clinging to the bumpy wall, I make my way towards the entrance of the cave, determined to find Grandad. Wyn trots along by my side. Were you surprised when you saw me in the attic, Arthur? Very, I say, pausing while a wave of dizziness washes over me. How did you do it? I'm not sure, but I reckon it has something to do with this. He reaches inside his robes and pulls out a golden chain. Hanging from the chain is a lime green fidget spinner. Behold, the relic of Arthur! He touches it with a finger, making it spin. Isn't it beautiful? I stare at the fidget spinner, which I'm fairly certain I found in a bin at the park. I don't know if I'd call it beautiful. You're right, it's miraculous, because I've been visiting that tunnel for months trying to get home, and the first time I wore this, it took me straight to you. Can you imagine what would have happened if Croaky had got hold of it? He'd be visiting home every day. Wyn's words are enough to get me moving again. At the mouth of the cave, I see a network of paths leading off into a forest. I don't bother asking Wyn which way to go. He was always getting us lost. Instead, I reach for the map, and that's when I remember it flying out of my hands by the waterfall. I groan. What's up? Says Wyn. I had this map of Raw, but I lost it. Wyn's eyes light up and he pulls out his wand. Salty green! He cries, and thick yellow smoke fills the air. I cough and squeeze my eyes shut, and when I open them again, Wyn is holding the map in his hands. I laugh in amazement. Wyn, That was really good magic. He shrugs. Actually, the map was in my pocket. I found it by the pool when I pulled you out. So, why did you do the spell? He grinned sheepishly. Just wanted to know what it felt like to do an awesome spell. I'm not sure Win understands just how urgent this situation is, but at least I've got the map and can get my head around where I've got to go. I open it and find the crow's nest. The castle is stuck out at sea, surrounded by huge waves. I have no memory of being inside it, and suddenly I realise why. We never got there, did we? Win shakes his head. We tried, but the sea there is so wild that only the Raven can reach the crow's nest. Any other boat would be smashed to pieces. I stare at the crooked towers on the castle, at Croaky's grinning face. Win, if that's where Grandad has been taken, then I've got to get in there. It's okay, I know a secret way. It's the Scarecrow army you should be worrying about. Croaky's got loads of them guarding the crow's nest. The Scarecrow army? What's that? What do you think? An army of scarecrows. Croaky started making them after you left. They're like violent scarecrow zombies, and I reckon Croaky controls them with his mind. I stuff the map in my pocket and stagger towards the trees. Win, don't say another word. Let's just go and get Grandad before anything bad happens to him. I'm about to step into the forest when Win yells, "Surprise hand grab!" and yanks me back. He looks nervous. We can't go now, Arthur. It's almost night time. But you're half ninja, and I thought ninjas love creeping around in the dark. Darkness is my friend, and I can melt into it. But it's also when the Scarecrow army go out on the rampage. In fact, his eyes flicked out into the gloomy forest, and he drops his voice to a whisper. They're probably out there right now, listening to us. It's at night that they cause most of their mayhem. What sort of mayhem? Do they go around breaking stuff? Win shakes his head violently. No, they go around eating stuff. And that's when a twig snaps somewhere in the trees. I shuffle closer to Win. Did you hear that? It was probably a rabbit, right? There are always loads of rabbits in Raw. Not since the Scarecrow started catching them to make into hats. What? I keep trying to tell you, Arthur. A lot has changed in Raw. He takes a step back from the forest. There's one more thing you should know about Croaky's Scarecrow army. What's that? They're excellent at standing still. The dark forest stretches out in front of us. What, like standing still between trees? Especially between trees. Suddenly Win lets go of me, takes a step forward and cries out, Arthur Trout, Master of Raw, is back, you bunch of dingly-dangly idiots, and he's going to rip your straw-stuffed heads from your bodies and shove them where the sun don't shine, so come and get it! Later, I shout. I'll do that later. But already something is stepping out of the trees, something that is big and dark and has spectacularly sparkly teeth. Chapter 16. I gasp, my heart pounding. Prosecco? The mighty stallion stalks towards me. He has nostrils like buckets and his muscles are gigantic and rippling. He looks absolutely nothing like the rocking horse in the attic. He stomps around, tramping through the glowing coals of the fire and lowering his head to peer into the cave. He seems to be looking for something. Suddenly he turns and clip-clops his way back to me. Only it's more clip-clop-clip, and sparks explode where his hooves strike the ground. I might make us some toast, says Win, edging away. Win, don't go, Prosecco hates me. Not as much he hates me, he says, and he slips into the cave. Prosecco stares at me and tosses his mane. Really? I dare to look him in the eye. You hate Win more than you hate me? Somehow, by raising his shoulders and narrowing his eyes, Prosecco manages to imply, only just. Then he steps towards me, forcing me backwards until I'm pushed up against the rock face. He lifts up one hoof and presses it into my chest. What's the matter, Prosecco? Are you angry with me? I was never really going to throw you out of the attic window. Or are you annoyed because Rose isn't here? His big head rises then falls. He's nodding. You are? Well, don't blame me. Rose could have come, but she chose to go to Claire's instead. I'm gibbering now, but I can't help it. I get the feeling that if Prosecco wanted to, he could push his hoof straight through me like a skewer in a kebab. He bares his dazzling teeth. What do you want? I cry. He steps back and starts pawing the ground and tossing his mane from side to side. He rears up until he's towering over me, then crashes back down. His tail whips round and a few strands of hair catch my arm. Pain shoots through me. It's like thousands of needles jabbing into me or being stung by bees. As I clutch my arm, I realise that Rose made this happen. Prosecco's tail never used to sting, but just by saying some words in the attic yesterday, Rose changed something in Raw. Win edges out the cave. Arthur, what have you done to him? Why is he so angry? I've not done anything. He wants Rose. Oh, there's Prosecco. I look into Prosecco's wild eyes. She's not in Raw. She's at home where we come from, and she might be freaking out a bit right now, but she's totally safe. Trust me. Prosecco thinks for a moment. I know he's thinking because his glittery eyeballs have become narrow slits. Then he nods, showing he's accepted what I've said. After one last glower, he turns to leave. Don't go, I run forward. Our Grandad is in Raw and Croaky's got him at the crow's nest. Can you help us get there? Give us a lift or something? Prosecco flashes me a disgusted look, then rears upon his hind legs and leaps into the forest. That horse has got melting into darkness. Nailed, says Win, as Prosecco and his thundering hooves vanish into the night. Don't worry, mate. Tomorrow when the Scarecrow army are nice and quiet, we'll find your Grandad and get him back. We don't need that great big horse to help us. I'm not just worried, I'm scared too. I don't remember feeling like this when we used to play Raw. If we felt fear, it was the exciting fun type, like when you go on a roller coaster or listen to a ghost story. I put my hand to my chest. It aches from where Prosecco pressed his hoof into me, and I can feel my heart thudding. There is nothing fun about what I'm feeling right now. We can do this, can't we, Win? I look at him for reassurance. We can go to the crow's nest, get past Croaky and save my Grandad. I'm expecting Win to say, of course we can, but for a moment he just stands there thinking. I wasn't joking when I said Croaky has changed, he says. He was always mean, but now he's vicious, and with his army he's powerful too. Feels like he's everywhere. Win's eyes flip back to the forest. He used to have a few scarecrows working for him, things that got stuffed and stayed stuffed. A couple of unicorns, a mermaid, but now he's made his army. I'm always waiting, wondering what he's going to do next. He's taking over Raw. He looks at me and grins. But now you're back, Arthur. And I know you can sort Croaky out, just like you used to. Win isn't making me feel better. In fact, I feel sick with worry. We need Rose. She always came up with our plans to get Croaky, and she was never scared of him. Unlike me. Well, Rose isn't here, but we have got you. He pulls my arm. Come on, I want to show you something. We go along a path that skirts the edge of the forest. All the time, Win keeps glancing into the trees, pausing every few steps to listen. Soon we come to a cave and Win lights a candle. He passes it to me and whispers, Go on, see what's inside. Holding the flickering candle up high, I walk deeper into the cave. Then I stop and look around. At first, I don't understand what I'm seeing. The cave is full of objects arranged on rocky shelves. I step closer. A butterfly hair clip sits next to an empty hula hoops packet. A scrap of paper with a game of hangman drawn on it is arranged on a ledge next to a single welly with a hat propped on top. A Batman keyring, missing one leg, dangles from a nail, and at the back of the cave I find a carefully folded t-shirt and a metal pot of green putty. The putty is set on its own ledge with an upturned plastic cup acting as a stand. After the relic of Arthur, that's my favourite thing, whispers Win. You left it behind 4 years ago, just after your birthday. And that's when I realise that this cave is a museum full of things that once belonged to me and Rose. I turn in a circle and the candle lights up curling stickers and animal rubbers, a lone Haribo, a book without a cover and a whole collection of sweet wrappers threaded on a piece of string. Where did this all come from? All over Raw, says Win proudly. I found most of it, but the unicorns brought things too. And look! He points to the wall and I lift the candle higher. Hoof prints cover the soft sandy walls, hundreds of them overlapping each other. Above the hoof prints, someone, Win, I'm guessing, has carved Rose and Arthur, Masters of Raw. I made this when you didn't come back. To begin with, it was just for me and to keep your things safe, but when things got bad, the unicorns started to visit, and then the furries. It made us feel better. Safer. I pick up a Pokemon trading card. Why did you want to show me this, Win? You need to know that you're a master of Raw, Arthur, just like Rose. If anyone can defeat Croaky, it's you. I swallow and put Pokemon card back on its shelf. You reckon? Absolutely. Now let's go and sit by the fire, make some toast and come up with a super stealthy plan to get your Grandad back.